April 18, 1979. 23,000 feet above the Beka Valley. The sky trembled under the roar of a Soviet-made MiG-25 RB. A silver dagger cutting across the clouds faster than sound itself. Captain Sergei Korovin, Soviet advisor to the Syrian Air Force, gripped the control stick, eyes darting across the dashboard as the Foxbat's engines howled behind him. Below, the valley opened like a dark scar across the land, and today, something felt wrong. At first, the radar warning tone was faint. Barely a whisper. Then it sharpened. Beep, beep, beep. Korovin's heart jolted. 2 unknown returns had appeared behind him, closing fast. He pushed the throttle to maximum, the aircraft rumbling as it climbed. But then, impossibly, 2 more contacts appeared ahead. 4 aircraft. Precise positions. Perfect geometry. A trap. The MiG-25 couldn't turn. It couldn't dive. It couldn't climb without losing speed. The F-15s knew every limitation, and they were tightening the noose. One of the eagles swooped across his nose, forcing him downward. Another slid behind him, holding the lock like a knife against his spine. Korovin's breathing turned ragged. They're not trying to kill me, he realized. They're showing me they can. When the tone suddenly stopped, the air felt colder than the cockpit glass. The F-15s peeled off in unison, leaving the Foxbat alive, humiliated, shaken, exposed. For the first time in his career, Korovin felt fear in the sky. He turned home in silence. The Foxbat limped over the Damascus skyline. Even the familiar hum of the engines felt weaker, strained. Korovin's hands trembled on the throttle as he taxied toward the hardened shelter. Ground crew ran to him the moment his canopy cracked open. "Captain. What happened? You look." Korovin ignored them, dropping down from the ladder with stiff legs. His flight suit clung to him with cold sweat. The Syrian base commander rushed over. "Did they fire? Did they hit you?" Korovin shook his head slowly. "No. Worse." He looked toward the horizon, where the F-15s had disappeared. "They let me go." Inside the briefing room, the tension thickened. Syrian officers expected triumphant footage of Israeli fighters retreating. Instead they watched, stunned, as 4 F-15s danced around the Soviet jet like wolves circling a wounded elk. No gun camera. No missile plume. Just dominance. When the video ended, the room stayed silent. Someone whispered, "They could have killed him 10 times." Korovin sat alone, replaying every move, every trap he'd flown straight into. He felt like he'd survived an execution. In Israel, the atmosphere was entirely different. At Tel Nof Air Base, the 4 F-15 pilots stood around a plotting board, debriefing the mission like chess masters reviewing a flawless checkmate. On the wall, radar snapshots formed a story. The MiG-25 entered the valley. 2 eagles closed from behind. 2 more dropped in from ahead. The Foxbat was forced down. Escape corridor sealed. Lock achieved. Kill possible, but withheld. The squadron commander pointed at the geometric formation. "This is how you catch a machine that outruns missiles. You don't chase the Foxbat, you design where it will go." A younger pilot nodded. "It flew its doctrine. Predictable. Automatic." Another tapped a marker against the board. "And we turned the doctrine against it." For the Israelis, this was more than a victory. It was a message to the Soviets. Your fastest jet isn't faster than our tactics. Back in Syria, the aftermath grew worse. The Syrian Air Force ran dozens of simulations using the recorded telemetry. Every scenario ended the same. The MiG-25 couldn't escape. Not with its turning limits. Not with its altitude needs. Not with its rigid flight profile. A Syrian general slammed his fist onto the table. "The Foxbat is supposed to be untouchable." One officer responded quietly. "It is, everywhere except against the F-15. Anger turned to fear. If Israel could box in a MiG-25, the pride of Soviet aviation, then what did that mean for Syrian air strategy? Desperate for answers, they sent an encrypted cable to Moscow. Request urgent assistance. Israeli F-15 exhibiting unexpected capabilities. Need Soviet expertise immediately. The Kremlin responded within hours. A plane was already on the way. Colonel Mikhail Petrov, one of the USSR's top Foxbat specialists, stepped out onto the Syrian tarmac. With a stern expression and a leather briefcase clutched tightly in his hand. He reviewed the footage once. Then again. On the third viewing he set the binder down slowly. "This is no improvisation," he said. "Look how they move, as if they rehearsed your every pattern." Syrian officers watched him pale. Petrov examined Korovin. "You survived. Tell me everything." As Korovin recounted the trap, Petrov nodded grimly. Matching the pilot's memories to the radar logs, he concluded only one possibility. The Americans were not reacting. They were predicting. Petrov rubbed his eyes. The F-15 pilots understand the Foxbat better than many Soviet commanders do. He stared at the valley on the map. And they know exactly how to kill it. Back in Moscow, Korovin and Petrov were escorted into a cold, windowless room. 3 senior officers sat across from them. On the table lay the radar logs, magnetic tapes, and Korovin's shaken written report. The interrogation began. Korovin described every second inside the valley, the tightening geometry, the forced descent, the locked tone slicing through the cockpit. A general interrupted. "You allowed yourself to be trapped." Korovin's eyes blazed. "They shaped the sky around me. Every move I made was predicted, every escape blocked. This was not carelessness. This was a demonstration." Petrov slid the radar snapshots forward. "This formation isn't coincidence. The trap was intentional. And they let him go." Silence. Then Korovin spoke the sentence no Soviet officer ever wanted to hear. "The F-15 can kill a Foxbat whenever it chooses." The officers exchanged anxious glances. For the first time, the Soviet Union understood exactly how dangerous the F-15 was. When Moscow understood the stakes, they dispatched a larger team, full air defense analysts, mathematicians, and electronic experts. Colonel Gorshkov, the most experienced among them, watched the Syrian data as if staring at an autopsy report. He finally muttered, "The Israelis are not chasing your MiG-25. They are studying it." He traced the radar loops with his fingers. "They know your climb angles, your afterburner windows, even your retreat corridor." Korovin looked stunned. Gorshkov continued, almost reluctantly, "This is not superiority of aircraft. It is superiority of thinking." And that terrified him more than any missile. Underground at Telnov Air Base, Israeli analysts built a wall-sized map covered in pinned strings. Every MiG-25 flight, every turn, every acceleration, every exit vector. One technician tapped the board. "It flies the same pattern every time," another officer added. "And anything predictable can be trapped." That sentence became the heart of the mission. The Eagles didn't just want to intercept the Foxbat. They wanted to prove to the world, and to the Soviets, that the F-15 could dominate even the fastest operational jet ever built. The plan required almost absurd precision. Step 1, bait the MiG-25 with a reconnaissance aircraft. Step 2, high-altitude F-15 moves into cutoff position. Step 3, 2 low fighters seal the escape vector. Step 4, the 4th Eagle drives the Foxbat downward. Step 5, force it into a slow-speed box. The Israeli commander summed it up perfectly. You don't chase the Foxbat. You make the sky small. The bait aircraft crossed the border. Exactly on schedule, a Syrian MiG-25 rose from its bunker. Korovin once again in the cockpit. He climbed hard, engines thundering, sensors sweeping for threats. At first, nothing. Then he saw it. 2 faint blips behind him. 2 ahead. Not random. Not accidental. The exact same formation as last time. But this time the F-15s tightened faster, closer, more confidently. Korevin's throat tightened. His left hand shook as he adjusted the throttle. They've practiced this. He felt the altitude collapse as they pressed him downward. The speed dropped. The Foxbat staggered. The F-15s closed like jaws. Another locked tone. He was defeated long before the moment arrived. When Korevin returned, Petrov's face was pale with disbelief. Again. He demanded. Korevin nodded. They improved the trap. Petrov stared at the radar replay in horror. This is impossible. They are anticipating Soviet aircraft better than Soviet doctrine does. He pounded the table. If this continues, the Foxbat is finished. Petrov and Korevin returned home to deliver a report that no Soviet officer would ever want to write. The key conclusions were blunt. The MiG-25's climb patterns are predictable. The F-15 can position itself preemptively. Soviet doctrine is too rigid. The Americans have solved the Foxbat. The defense minister stared at the final sentence. The F-15 is not just a fighter. It is a system that thinks. Moscow panicked. The Soviet answer came in the form of a new machine. The MiG-31 Foxhound. It fixed everything the MiG-25 had done wrong. Stronger airframe. True turning capability. Long-range radar. R-33 missiles. Two-man crew. Higher endurance. The Foxhound existed for one purpose. Hunt the hunters. Destroy the F-15. The Americans had forced the Soviets to evolve. A partially declassified Israeli transcript of the mission captures the moment Korevin was trapped. Eagle 1, Foxbat accelerating. Predictable climb. He's doing exactly what we plotted. Eagle 2, cut him off. I'm in front. Eagle 3, dropping low, escape corridor sealed. Eagle 4, he's in the box. Eagle 2, lock acquired. Eagle 1, hold fire. Let him go. Message delivered. It was the most humiliating moment of Korevin's career. The USSR realized the truth. Speed alone was dead. Tactics won the sky. Korevin left active service quietly. Petrov was reassigned to a Foxhound development bureau. And across the world, air forces rewrote their doctrines overnight. The F-15 had done something no one expected. It defeated the MiG-25 without ever firing a missile. A victory of geometry. Of prediction. Of pure aerial intellect. The trap in the Bika Valley became legend. And the Soviet advisors who witnessed it. They never forgot the feeling of being hunted by an enemy who seemed to know their next move before they made it.